Is stress affecting your sexual performance? Welcome to the next episode of Beyond the Couch with me, Graeme Wood, as I talk to sexual empowerment coach Alexandra Holovitz and we find out how hypnotherapy can be used to improve your sex life. And today I have the pleasure to be talking to Alexandra Holovitz. She is from Executive Intimacy Coaching and she is a sexual health coach and an orgasmic hypnotherapist. So Alexandra, over to you to let us know who you are, what you do and how.
My name is Alexandra Holovitz and I'm from Hungary originally. I work with international clients and I'm very pleased to be here and I can't wait to talk about my favorite topic about sexual health, empowerment, and also to how to use hypnosis in a more sexy way.
So, how did you get into this field? What made you choose this field of coaching and hypnotherapy?
Yeah, so actually it was a really funny story. Originally, I'm an economist. I used to work in corporate and especially banking and also private guest relation, hospitality. And then one day, like in my 30s, I just woke up and I lived in London. I had this super good, on paper, super good job. And then I was like, gosh, is that all that it is for life? I was not satisfied. I didn't feel fulfilled with my career. I kept feeling like, oh my God, nobody see me. Like there is so much more fun out of my job. And, I just felt like, yeah, if that's all what it is for the career, then I'm done for sure. So then I take a bold movement and I bought a one-way ticket to Australia and I actually backpacked for 6 months to kind of figure out like who I am, what I want to do, and that's where I met a lot of tantric people, and then that's when actually my eyes really opened. Like, wow, there is so many like people who teach tantra. There's so many people who do like sex coaching, intimacy coaching, relationship coaching, and all sort of coaching. And then I was like, oh wow, there is a whole new word. And then basically the hypnosis just came about a year and a half ago. And my path is like I've been doing sex coaching for about 6 years. And then after the COVID, I added as well hypnotherapy because I felt that going from like very hands-on, like doing a lot of tantric work, like body work and also breath work also, and just really working like more on hands-on with people. Like I felt like this is really great, but then also with the COVID, I couldn't travel, so I kind of was in the spot like, okay, what can I do? And then I was always very fascinated with the mind that oh my god. And then when I started to learn about erotic hypnosis, then I realized like we women especially like really able to go into length of like even thinking yourself, or as well, you do breath work
Yeah.
just to breathe and to feel this orgasmic state. And then when I started to learn the orgasmic hypnosis from my teacher, then I really felt like, oh my God, I love this. There is so many hidden parts of like resolving shame, feeling more into your body, connecting with your pleasure, having the fantasies maybe you don't want in reality, but then in the fantasy feels so liberating. So I went down really the rabbit hole of like what is erotic hypnosis, what is orgasmic hypnosis, and due to my background in tantra and sex coaching, it was I think pretty obvious next step. And basically now, like a year and a half, I work mostly with high achieving men because I really can resonate a lot of the issues they are going through. Because also that was my life like 9 years ago. So, the loneliness to be on the top, to constant performance, and to feel like there is never really, you cannot attach to yourself, to your own identity. I think for me that the biggest thing why I do what I do, that it's to help people to find their identity and this authenticity that they really want to live life with, so that they can feel the fulfillment and the love and the connection to their higher purpose.
So you say you work with the high achievers. I guess there's a lot of stress involved. How much
Oh,
does stress affect sexual performance?
like it's a huge factor. Like many men report that whenever they are in a busy situation at their work, or they overloaded mentally, they really disconnect from the body. So all that stress loop like causing the cortisol. So think about like your day, like do you have any morning routine? And when I'm talking about morning routine, it doesn't have to be like an hour long, big routine, but it can be like 5 minutes. Like the easiest, really, I love this conversation because the breath, like I always guide my clients as well, like take a couple deep breath, grounding breaths, and before reaching your phone, right? Because one of the biggest stressor, I think, in this DNA that is being constantly available and having this need of like, I need to answer this person, I need to be here, I need to respond, I need to perform. And you can never really be yourself in that aspect unless you really learn how to be yourself and how to have a self-led life. So basically, stress is a very big thing in high achieving people, and I think in general people's life, because it can cause a lot of anxiety and it can cause a lot of distraction basically. And think about like if you're a high achiever, you go into your day, right? You already started the day like maybe picking up your phone and in the meetings, and then you have a team, and then by the time that you get home to have your normal relational life, to be like the father or be like the husband, you already lost. Like there is nothing left for the person. So many people, they report their wife is very close to the edge of either leaving them or divorcing, or they are just constantly complaining about like, well, you never really here, you never really present, I cannot talk to you, and so on. So stress is definitely something that causing a lot of sexless marriage. Unfortunately, these high CEOs that I work with like often report that they haven't have any sexual connection with their partner or their self like maybe a year or two or even longer. So if that's you, then I think it's time to, search for help and support. And I think also that sometimes I know that as a man, for the ego, it's very heavy to admit in the
Mhm.
beginning to, hey, I need help and I want to talk to someone. But I think that's why it's very important to a private, strategic person who's been there. So I think that's where my background as well in corporate comes in, that I really understand this kind of struggles that men go through day to day, and really that separation, that I am surrounded by a lot of people, but I cannot talk about anybody of
Yeah.
any meaningful conversation because everybody expect the answer from me, right? So I'd say super, super difficult. And oftentimes also they would feel that if they step out of this leadership role, and for example, they go home and tell their wife, look, honey, I'm too tired today because this or that, they would just demolish in the wife's eye. When I do believe women, they really respect men who are able to be vulnerable and share, like share emotionally what's happening for them, and share like, okay, I might feel this, but then if we would just rest or do something else, then I could start connecting. So yeah, definitely. In short, very, very big factor. The stress is causing sexless marriage for sure, and even less connection to self. To reference to the why, I think is due to the really social conditioning, like men growing up in a way that they grown up, that to man up, to be strong, to be accountable, to be the provider, to be like this. So they always have to fill in the role of being something. So they really got used to this kind of like putting on a mask and being in a certain way. And then when you kind of call them out, like, yeah, but who you are, like beyond your title, who you really are, they're like, huh, what? I don't really understand. And I'm like, yeah, that's the issue probably. that you don't understand that who you are really, because your title is not you,
No,
it's a title,
it's a
or the
badge.
money in the
Yeah,
bank, right, is
yeah,
not you.
yeah.
It's just a factor. Yeah.
So
Mm.
when you started off in the early days of this, obviously you mentioned Tantra, and we
Yeah.
hear a lot about tantric sex, but we
Yeah.
don't really hear any detail of it. It's a thing, it's a word. So what is Tantra?
Yeah. So there is many different explanation. I think everybody has to make their own. So what I made of what is Tantra. So there is two pathways. Like one is more of the traditional religious type of like spiritual growth of what is being a tantric person. It's honestly like in the tradition of India, it's nothing to do with sex. Okay, so there's more like this having rituals, routines, prayers, mantras, and just working with your body as a temple, like loving yourself and forgiving past and things like that. So that's the traditional
Okay.
tantra. However, in the West, we use like neo-tantric practices, which means that we implement it, and because Western people love sex, right? So everybody loves sex and
Yeah,
nobody
of
wants
course we
to
do.
talk about it. So that's the thing. So we use practices to basically like connect back to the body through the principles of Tantra. So breath, sound, movement, and energy work. So the whole point of like Neo Tantra is being more connected to yourself again, your body, and just to feel like you liberated yourself from the culture or like any kind of shame, guilt, or any kind of conditions that you've been collecting. So for example, if you are a woman, like you often hear, like we have these double standards in society that if a woman is very liberated, she must be like, a whore or something.
Yeah.
And that, for example, when you learn this tantric path, that you really learn like mentally, like taking out all this old conditioning and really begin to connect with your own body, your own pleasure, and also the possibility of having many multiple orgasms, because that's also something that very liberating. So most people actually until the 1950s, the clitoris was only like this little bit, right? And then people did not know that it's like a huge, you know, anatomically, like it's not only like a tiny pea, but like it's a huge thing. So, for example, like Tantra teaching you like how to have different levels of orgasm and different stage. So, as a man or as a female, you can have about 7 to 9 different type of orgasms, which not only for body part but like energetic ones and dry ones and so on. So the path is to really liberate yourself from the mental clutter that you collected and from the body that it's not allowed for you to have a lot of pleasures. So that's my transitions of what is
Okay.
tantra.
And then you discovered hypnosis.
Yes.
Excellent.
So imagine my clients what they get.
Stop
Yes.
it.
Very,
Yeah.
very deep work actually. And that's also something what I find with men, that when I my philosophy around it, women would try a lot of things. They would go to yoga, therapy, tantra, breathing, and all this journaling, everything, right? Men, they will collect information and see, okay, sample this or that, and but when they're ready, they're really ready. So they would commit like 12 months, 2 years, or like a really long partnership, because they really feel like, okay, now I mastered everything else, and then I'm ready to master myself or my body or whatever. So this, I think, I do believe that the holistic approach, so the mind and the body, it's very, very important. So yeah, I think that's how hypnosis came in for me, because I was very much drawn to all body, again because of my background. So the first tantric retreat when I went, the teacher was telling me we were doing some body work on each other, and then after 2 days I was like, oh, this stuff doesn't work. And then, of course, it didn't work because I was so much in my head. So I was blocking completely my body to receive this kind of pleasure and sensation and, just to feel basically.
Yeah.
And then after 2 days, I had this huge breakthrough when I realized, like, yeah, because they were pushing so hard. And actually, for me, the task is to soften, not to push hard, because
Yeah.
I was so used to pushing hard. So I didn't notice, like, anything was happening. And then when they really started to make the body contact, like very softly, gently, and just with a lot of presence, like I just broke down like crazy. I was weeping, crying like an hour, and the teacher was like, I think it's working. And I was like, fuck. I was like, wow. So I often have this experience with also men when they like, learn to hold themselves for so long and they never been touched really, like, so they're very touch starved. And I'm not
Yeah.
talking about sexual touch, it's even just the body to touch or to feel or hug or any kind of thing, that because they are so disconnected from sensation, and so just to feel really,
Yeah.
because I think also often when they kind of go into the work, they have to really switch off this feeling sense, right? So yeah, so hypnosis really came in for me that in a way that I know that with the body I can work very well. I knew that my mind is very strong and powerful, but I also felt that I still have kind of limiting beliefs and stuff that I take on. And then the reason why I started to work with hypnosis is because I wanted to find a solution where I don't physically have to be in the same place with
Yeah.
people, but then I can really do same like us doing now, right? Like having people like from America, Australia, the UK, and just having sessions and to have like a breakthrough like this. And for me, that one of the things that I learned first is just really this ability of hypnosis to rewire the whole mind and body, and also the story, right? Which
Yeah.
comes again down to the identity. The identity piece is very important for me, that who I am really without the title, without this, without that. So I was, I think, very drawn to this. And the sexual aspect or the orgasmic aspect came because of the sex coach background. Mm.
So you say you use breathwork to ground people,
Yeah. Oh, ground or activate,
or
depends
or to add, yes, but so give us a little demo,
of orgasmic breath or
or
to
maybe not of workout. I don't know if you put I don't know if you put a disclaimer at the front of this. If you're driving while you're watching this, put it on pause.
no.
But no, so someone gets up in the morning,
Yeah.
they're one of your stressed CEOs, high
Yes.
pressure job,
Yeah.
a little 30-second thing that you can do in the morning just
Yeah.
to reset yourself and get you ready for the day, get you
Yeah.
put back in touch with yourself.
Yeah, so I like to offer that breathing like four in and then eight out.
Yeah.
It's super easy. You can make the count and then it just to focus. And usually, because I came from the tantric background, I prefer people to put one hand to the heart and one hand to the belly. And you can just close your eyes and allow yourself to connect with the breath, and just slowly inhale through the nose for the count of four. And exhale to the mouth of the count of eight. And just repeat in your own rhythm 3 more times. Really allowing when you breathe in to collect all the goodness, all the energies. And maybe you can come up even with one thing that you would like from this. Maybe it's grounding, maybe it's peace, maybe it's happiness. And as you exhale, just let go anything that you've been holding on to, maybe from the night, maybe from the day coming up. And just one more time for the count of 4, breathing in and just breathe out for the count of 8. And when you just finished with the 8, just allow yourself to stay with that emptiness just for one moment and just notice how your body and mind shifted. And when you feel you're done with this exercise, you can nicely, calmly come back to the here and now and open your eyes and just notice how your energy shifted and how you're ready for the day.
I can guarantee anyone who does that will feel more relaxed before they even start.
Mm, yeah.
Breathwork is amazing. It's such a powerful tool.
And it's so easy, right? Because
Yeah.
it's always with us. That's what I really love about, because I have a lot of practice that you might need space or another thing, as a tool or something or a person to guide you through or many other things. But there is so many different breath work we can do, like this one for calming. And when we do the orgasmic state is more like a pulsating, like pelvic floor, like clenching and a bit more like intense, right?
Yeah.
So that we can do so much with something that is available for us
Well,
all
we
the
won't demo that one here because, again, people will be driving and listening to this. We don't want to see them at the bus stop giving pelvic thrusts.
time. Well, that
No.
would be really a shame busting one then. Having people all around the bus stops having orgasms.
So you mentioned shame, and I think obviously that's going to be a big thing with some people. How do you help people overcome the shame?
Yeah, so usually shame does not come from us. So the first thing I bring awareness, like we start talking about, like especially if it's something due to their sexuality. So they might think, oh, this is not allowed for me, or if I do this, I'm a bad person, or if they have some kind of fetish, and that a lot of the fetish kings, they really stigmatized by society.
Yeah.
So, for example, I work with people that they might be, because they are in high power, so they really want to let go and surrender, and they maybe want to try something new with the partner, but they're really shaming themselves that to, oh my God, like I don't know how I'm going to tell this. So first, like to really bring awareness, like where is this come from, like why they attracted to it, and if they learned anything about their parents, or maybe they brought up in a religion, or the society that they told us that this is not okay. And then just to really check in, like what would happen if they would embrace this, like it's not have to be, but like let's, as an experiment, I always encourage them, okay, just to connect with it. And let's say you're doing this, like what are the second factors that come up, basically, that what do you start to feel? And then thirdly, just really like practically we can do like a hypnosis around it. Like a lot of the times it's very safe to try. So for example, if someone have like a bondage fetish, so they really liked, okay, someone just tied them up, and they kind of feel this surrender helpless person, because that's also for them sometimes is a reset in the nervous system, because finally they don't have to make a decision, but they can just lay back and relax. So hypnosis comes in as well, like it's a totally safe space, so I can guide them through the exercise, and we can make it feel like that it's really happening. So sticking the hand together, even having the bondage or having the feeling around it, like you start to feel. So it's a really like experimental thing. And I really love that. I think shame is something that you think that you done something wrong, but according to who?
Yeah.
So again, like to become aware, like embrace it, and then to practically try it. So I always encourage like try it first in hypnosis. And oftentimes our fetishes is not something we really truly want in real life, but then it's just super fun to explore it
Yeah.
in the hypnosis. So this is the way that I would do it, to start to understand, where the shame come from. Does it belong to us? And then also we can do like releasing the shame. If there is some deep rooted, for example, like if they learned it from one of the parents, for example, or like an authoritarian figure in their church or something, there is a lot of programming around this, especially when it comes to sex. So then we can just do again the hypnosis, more like going back and like a regression type, that they can just release it.
So I assume you're going to have people come to you with performance issues. And how do you deal with those?
Yeah, again, so most of the men that I work with, they do go through performance issues, right, in the bedroom, because by the time they get to the bedroom, they have no energy left. So the first thing that I talk through them, that if they have any medical condition, and if we like eliminate that it's nothing medical, or that don't take like because sometimes, unfortunately, this type of leaders, they do take Xanax or other, sedatives as well,
Mm.
like to be able to sleep. So first, so we take out the medical conditions, and then if nothing like that, and it's purely about like, yeah, okay, stress related, then I like to tell them like how to consciously get in touch with their sexual energy. And sexual energy is again something like Tantra, like a lot of people woo size it, but it's actually,
Did you just read my mind?
yeah.
You know
So
me and woo
sexual
woo.
energy is just life force energy. It's a creative energy. We all have it. And it's just basically like a chi that flows through us, the way that I like to explain. So everybody have it. If you read Napoleon Hill, he talks about the Think Grow Rich. There is also in 1927, they already discovered that men who use their sexual energy, this creative energy, in order to create their business, they are more fulfilled and more easily like create things. So actually, like when you have performance issue, that usually you need to reset your nervous system, and just to be able to rest more, and to really to be able to connect with this deeper energy within yourself. So again, I teach them how to consciously touch themselves. So meaning like doing mindful masturbation, and which we use the tantric principles, again the breath, sound, movement, and a bit of touch of the full body. So not only focusing on the penis, but like really to become more in touch with their whole self. And then to see that the performance anxiety comes from, in order to still keeping this persona that they need to perform, or it comes from something else. And if it's causing already signals like erectile dysfunction or inability to perform or low libido, I always work with holistically. So, really asking a lot of questions like what they feel triggered, or how they experience the stress. And then we really customize their hypnosis. So, there is no like one way fit all. A lot of the times that when I work with men, I have a program called VIP Day, which is a trans touch, which we go into more the somatic, and also with the mind in place. So we really work all these layers out. And when the first time I start touching maybe the tummy, then you can really feel like it's like hard rock, like it's so heavy, right? Because it's being keeping this tightness, this pressure, this tension right in. And then when we, by the time we finish, like couple hours in, they're like already melting it off like so much, and they're like, oh my god, like my body already feels so different just by this one session. And I'm like, yeah, but imagine like you would do this like every month or something, like it could go so much. And there's so big transformation, like I can see. And many men, they really require, like not knowing even, but like kind of like life saving, like what
Yeah.
happened. Because of, when you have like certain physical symptoms, like the back pain or this heaviness or the crunching feeling of the tummy or the chest burn or the headaches, or when you kind of use also alcohol or stuff to numb out because you cannot take the pressure anymore. So that all those is just unhealthy ways, right? It's much better to learn like breathing with Graeme or me or whoever, or just to really relax your mind with hypnosis.
So I met you last year at the UK Hypnosis Convention,
Yeah.
and you gave a talk in the main room. You were honored to have the big room there with about 300 people in,
Mm,
where you ran an orgasmic hypnosis session.
yes.
I was in that room and I did hear some funny noises. So
Mm.
can you explain? No, no.
Amazing.
Guy
I'm
sitting
so
behind me
so
was having
glad
a
to
guy
so
sitting
glad
behind
to
me was
hear
having a very good time and was not happy when you finished.
that.
So can you explain to people what your orgasmic hypnosis is? And again, if you're driving or operating heavy machinery, stop and have a cup of tea just in case. Um, but yeah,
Yeah.
just run through an don't do an orgasmic hypnosis.
No,
Just run through the
the
premise of it.
principles.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so the principles is pretty much similar like with regular hypnosis. So we will do a pre-talk, basically like what would you like to experience? And most people come with like they're really disconnected from their pleasure or maybe the libido is dropped. So the way that I like to do that, I explain that this not going to be like a full-on blown out orgasm. However, it's going to be like an orgasmic state. So orgasmic state is meaning like you will feel more connected to your pleasure, your body, the sensory sensations. So maybe you will start feeling, some people explore hotness, some people coolness, some people have goosebumps, some people have like little, felt sense like, oh my God, I'm so connected to
Mm.
higher power or whatever. It seems like sex is very difficult to explain in one sentence,
Yeah.
right? So I think everybody has different sensation, but the way that I like to do it, so just to explain like what it's actually like the state that you're going to explore, I use also a little bit of breath works to channel back your energy into the body, so you begin to connect more with the heart, opening more the heart and opening more the space in the pelvic region. I like also to use like fantasy or guided imaginary visualization. So I would give different scenarios for people that depending on their fantasy again. So it can be very mellow, which would be more the orgasmic hypnosis, which would be just really focusing on maybe calling back in a certain time in your life when you felt so free and you were having the best orgasmic experience, maybe by yourself or with a partner. And through the hypnosis, like the induction and then the deepening, and then actually the session itself, we can bring you back there and just to really amplify all that sensation. So through the senses, I like to use both five senses, so like see, feel, experience, touch, smell, and just to really have a very vivid experience. And also that I like fun, so I like usually putting into something that fun. So when we do more the erotic stuff, that is usually go more into the fetish or fantasy aspect of it. So you can come up with things, so you can feel that okay, your hands is tied down or you stuck to the chair or someone is doing something on you, or we will have a consent, so we will talk about it like what you want to explore. And basically like with this process, after I would do like certain suggestions to like amplify the pleasure and the sensation to make it stronger, more vivid. And then as you said, then the people by now usually start to feel
Yeah. They're
something that
making
is
noises.
happening. Yes, and then after, depending on the session, so if we did agree before that you would like some post-hypnotic suggestion, then it's also possible. We can implement like certain trigger words or certain colors or scenes or something that will bring back this sensation. And the way that I like to do the orgasmic hypnosis is always very empowering. So no matter if you want just surrendering or you want more pleasure or you want to feel like more self-empowered, but I always bring it back to the person. So kind of like fill it up with a lot of positive trigger words or emotions or sensations. And if you do it in person, I like to touch people in a certain way, like just to touch maybe the head or the shoulder and then say something, right? So that's also usually gets quite like a big release and permission slip, like, yeah, it's okay to let go. And the way that I like to do it in more like a bigger room, I think it's one person, if they let go, then it can become. So the whole thing. And basically afterwards we just generally come back as normal. So it's pretty much like a normal hypnosis, right? It just with the element of a bit more spiciness.
Sounds awesome.
Yes. Yes, it's quite fun, and I think also that what's fascinating for me that the mind is how powerful, and really it's so true that I always heard this expression like, yeah, the sex starts in the mind, and
Yep.
I'm a Gemini, so definitely I'm up for it because it's. But yeah, it's with orgasmic hypnosis is totally like what you can imagine. You can feel like it's really happening for you right there, right, without any touch. So that's also called the phenomenon, like hands-free orgasm. When it's like in Tantra, like the multi-orgasmic pleasure, it's something that people want to achieve by the time that we work together. And then with the hypno fun is more like the hands-free orgasm, which just means that basically through your mind, you activate the sensory experience and you will feel like an orgasmic state by the end, usually.
So, a question I like to ask all the hypnotherapists, because I get a different answer from every single one of them. What is hypnosis?
Yeah, I like the explanation. Hypnosis is a focus state of letting yourself go into places that feels magical and mystical.
I wonder whose words they are.
Yeah, yeah, no, I
No,
because of the fantasy also,
yeah.
right? So I would like to think that hypnosis is a state where you feel safe to let go and to feel that you are kind of exploring your magic within. Mm,
What a wonderful explanation.
thank you.
So,
It was so
Alexandra Holovitz,
fun.
thank you very much for your time. I will post the links in down below. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos. Hope you've enjoyed this. And if you want to reach out with any issues, obviously everything we do is strictly confidential. Don't be ashamed. Don't be afraid. Just ask yourself one question: what do you really want?
Mm.
And then Alexandra will help you get there. So thank you very
Thank
much for your time, and I'll see you on the next one.
Bye.